He came home early, just trying to surprise his daughter with ice cream. But what he found instead, it shattered everything he believed about safety, trust, and himself. This isn't just a story about a father. It's about the cracks that hide behind polished walls, and what happens when you finally look close enough to see them. The metallic jingle of keys echoed through the marble foyer as Darius Cole stepped into his high-ceilinged home. The air inside was still, too still. He wasn't supposed to be home this early. A last-minute cancellation of his downtown investment board meeting had left a rare opening in his tightly packed calendar. So he'd done something simple, something sweet. He bought vanilla ice cream with rainbow sprinkles from the corner shop, Maya's favorite. It had been months since he'd shared even a quiet moment with her. Maybe this small act could say what he hadn't been able to say since her mother's passing 2 years ago. "I'm here now. I see you. I've missed you." For a man who ran boardrooms and billion-dollar contracts with ruthless precision, Darius had always believed he was doing everything right at home, too. He provided top-tier tutors, a private chef, child therapists, even a live-in nanny, Vanessa, handpicked through a glowing referral by his fiancée, Kira. She had credentials, clean background checks, impeccable manners. He never thought to look deeper. His Italian loafers clicked softly as he moved through the silence. But then, he stopped. There was a sound. Not laughter, not cartoons. Crying, soft, strained, like someone was trying not to be heard. Darius's brow furrowed. The ice cream bag slipped from his hand, forgotten. He followed the sound into the kitchen and froze. There, standing in front of the sink, was his 6-year-old daughter, Maya, barely holding up a mop twice her size. Her hands trembled as she scrubbed the floor, knees bruised and jeans torn at the seams. Her shirt, stained and too tight, clung to her small frame like it was borrowed from another life. But it wasn't the mop. It wasn't even the filth on her face. It was the red marks, angry and fresh, striped across her arms, bruises, scratches, swollen skin, and one of her eyes. It was nearly shut from swelling. His throat locked, his knees buckled slightly. "Maya!" She jumped, hard, like a firecracker had gone off. Her tiny body spun, eyes wide, lips parted in shock. "Daddy!" she whispered, the mop crashing to the floor as she stumbled backward. One arm disappeared behind her back. Like if he couldn't see it, it didn't exist. Darius dropped to his knees. "My baby? What happened?" he said, his voice breaking, fingers brushing over her trembling shoulders. "Who did this to you?" She looked away, voice barely above breath. I was too slow. Mopping." He blinked. "What? Who told you to mop?" Her gaze hit the floor. "Miss Vanessa." It felt like a thunderbolt hit him square in the chest. Vanessa. The woman he trusted. The woman who ate in his home. Who tucked Maya in when he was working late. Who smiled at him over breakfast like nothing was ever wrong. He whispered again, calmer this time, but trembling inside. "Maya, did Vanessa do this?" She nodded. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She only said, "She says I'm bad. I mess everything up. She says I have to work, or she'll send me away like Mommy." Darius lost his breath. His baby thought she had to earn her place in her own home. That love could be revoked. That mistakes meant exile. He pulled her in instantly, arms tight, heart pounding. "No one is sending you anywhere. Do you hear me?" He pulled back to look into her eyes. "Ever?" She clung to his suit, burying her face into his shoulder. "Don't tell her I told." That's when he heard it. Footsteps, confident, calm, calculated. He turned slowly. Vanessa stood in the archway, laundry basket in hand. Her expression was unreadable, just a blink, then a gentle, "Oh, you're home early." Darius rose, holding Maya close. His voice was steel. "What did you do to my daughter?" Vanessa didn't flinch. "Excuse me?" "The bruises, the crying, making her mop the damn floor like a maid. She's 6. Vanessa sighed, placing the basket down. "Children need structure. She's been acting out, broke 2 glasses just this morning." "I don't care if she shattered every window in the house," Darius said, voice rising. "You don't lay hands on my child." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "I raised 3 boys before this job. You weren't here. Someone had to keep her in line. I did what you weren't doing." Maya shivered against his chest. And that was it. Darius's jaw clenched so tight it ached. "Pack your things," he said low. "Now, before I call the police." Vanessa scoffed. "You're going to destroy my reputation over a few harmless swats? You know how many families beg for a nanny like me?" He stepped forward. "Let them have you. You'll never see my daughter again." She opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. Something in his eyes told her the conversation was over. Truly over. She walked out. And for the first time since entering that house, Darius could breathe again. But it was shaky, uneven, fragile. His empire had failed him. His money, his security systems, his endless staff. None of it had protected Maya. And worst of all, he almost missed it. Because he wasn't looking. Because he trusted too easily. Because he wasn't there when it mattered most. He kissed her forehead, whispering, "I'm so sorry, baby." Maya looked up at him, her small voice barely audible. "Will she come back?" Darius held her tighter. "No, sweetheart, never again." That night, Darius didn't sleep. He didn't even try. He sat there on the edge of Maya's bed, his suit wrinkled, his tie loosened and forgotten. The room was dim, just the soft hum of her nightlight, casting shapes against the wall. Maya had cried herself into slumber, a blanket wrapped around her tiny shoulders like armor. But even in sleep, her fingers remained tightly curled around his. He watched her, watched the way her chest rose and fell, watched how she whimpered softly if she moved too much in her sleep, watched the bruises on her arms like they were brandings of his own failure. Each mark was a question. How long had this been going on? How much had she hidden? How much had he missed while chasing meetings, closing deals, trying to be enough through money? By sunrise, the silence in the house felt heavier. Maya sat at the breakfast table, shoulders hunched under her favorite blanket, the one with cartoon clouds and sunshine. Darius placed a bowl of cereal in front of her himself. No chef, no help, just him. He sat down beside her, waiting. She ate in silence. He didn't rush her, didn't force conversation, didn't ask questions. He just stayed, and when she finally looked up, he noticed the fear hadn't left her eyes. Not yet. So he made a decision. This wasn't over. By 9 a.m., his lawyer was on the phone. By noon, Vanessa was gone, not just from the house, but under arrest. The official charges: child endangerment and abuse. But for Darius, that wasn't enough. Not even close. He didn't want just justice. He wanted truth. He needed to know how a predator like Vanessa made it through every gate he thought was locked tight. He called in a private investigator, not some corporate background firm that only scratched the surface. He wanted someone who knew how to dig through the layers people hide behind. He found her. A former child services analyst, now an independent investigator, with a reputation for exposing what others missed. Within 2 days, the report landed on Darius's desk. He read the first page and felt the blood drain from his face. Vanessa Hill wasn't Vanessa Hill. Her real name was Vanessa Griggs. She had changed it 4 years ago after a dismissed child negligence case in Colorado. The accusations? Excessive discipline, emotional harm, controlling behavior. The case had been dropped due to insufficient evidence. No follow-up, no consequences. Just a new name, a new job, a new family to fool. Darius flipped through the rest of the report, heart-pounding. Another file surfaced, a school referral from 2018. 3 children withdrawn mid-year, diagnosed with behavioral trauma. The common thread? Vanessa had been their caregiver. Each document felt like a punch to the gut. She was a ghost, moving from state to state, dodging red flags, staying just long enough to wound, but never long enough to leave a trace that stuck. She was clean on paper, but filthy in truth. And Darius? He was the man who had welcomed her in. He stormed into the investigator's office that afternoon. How the hell wasn't this caught? The woman didn't flinch. She'd seen this before. She played the game well, she said, arms folded. Fake address changes, scrubbed social media, no arrests until now. Most agencies don't dig that deep unless they're asked to. Darius whispered bitterly, I was most people. But not anymore. That same week, police interviewed former employers. They filed a full report. Charges were pressed. And one brave mother even flew in from Atlanta, carrying with her photographs of her son's bruises from years ago. Ones she thought no one would believe. The case was real now, and it had teeth. Word spread. Local media caught wind of it. Trusted nanny exposed with hidden past. Multiple families stepped forward with abuse allegations. But Darius didn't care about headlines. He cared about his daughter's eyes. He cared about her silence. The following weeks, slow, intimate, purposeful. He turned down 2 major deals, postponed an entire product launch, stepped back from his own company, because Maya needed pancakes, not profits. She needed time, not toys. Every morning, he made breakfast himself. She liked toast cut into stars, and cereal in dinosaur-shaped bowls. She liked strawberries, but only if they weren't mushy. She still didn't talk much. She'd sit at the table, drawing little stick figures, some alone, some with scribbled lines that looked like tears. But Darius watched. Every color, every crayon stroke, every silence. Like it was the only language he needed to understand. One evening, while they were building a puzzle on the rug, Maya paused. Her tiny voice broke the calm. Daddy? Will she come back when the police let her go? He stopped. His heart ached, but he smiled softly. No, baby, she won't. Because I'll never let anyone hurt you again, not ever. She reached out and touched his chin. You were gone a lot. He nodded, eyes stinging. I know, but I'm here now, for good. In her quiet way, she leaned against his chest, and he held her there for a long time. She didn't need a superhero. She didn't need a CEO. She just needed her dad, and for the first time, he showed up. The courtroom was quiet, too quiet. Carpeted floors muted every step. The air held that stiff, unmoving stillness that made you feel like the walls were listening. Cold, detached, like justice was watching, waiting to decide if it would actually show up. But for Darius, this wasn't a place of law. It was a place of reckoning. He sat in the front row, dressed in a navy suit. Crisp, sharp. Not for power, but for presence. For Maya. She sat beside him, holding his hand with both of hers. Her little fingers clutched like they were gripping the edge of the world. On the other side of the room sat Vanessa. No laundry basket, no smug smile, no power. Her expression was blank, mask-like. But there was something different now, something hollow in the way she sat. The confidence was gone. Her eyes darted once toward Maya, but they didn't linger. She looked away, because she knew. This time, she'd gone too far. This time, the silence had a voice. The judge's words were stern but controlled. Charges were read out loud, each syllable landing like a hammer on the cold floor. 3 years in prison, 2 years of probation, mandatory psychological therapy. Vanessa didn't speak. Not one word, not a plea, not a defense, not a look back. It was over. But Darius didn't cheer. This wasn't a victory. This was the beginning of something slower, softer, something healing. That weekend, he took Maya to the park, the same one her mom used to take her to every Saturday morning. The one with the painted benches and the duck pond. The one they hadn't visited since. Everything changed. The sun was gentle that day. The grass looked greener than he remembered. Or maybe he was finally seeing it. Really seeing it. Maya ran through the field in a soft yellow sundress, her hair in fluffy afro puffs that bounced with every step. Her laughter came back, little by little, like sunshine after weeks of rain. She chased butterflies, swung on the rusted swings, and for a moment, just a moment, the bruises on her arms felt like they belonged to another world, one she was slowly stepping out of. Darius sat on the bench, hands resting on his knees. He wasn't checking his phone. He wasn't making calls. He wasn't thinking about meetings or mergers or anything with dollar signs. He was watching her, like his life depended on it. Because in a way, it did. When Maya ran back to him, out of breath, cheeks flushed with color, she crawled into his lap like it was home. She looked up, eyes wide, with something that wasn't fear anymore. "Daddy, you won't leave again, right?" He didn't answer right away. He held her closer, kissed the top of her head, and then he whispered, "Never again." He exhaled, slowly. "I thought I was giving you the world," he said softly, "with houses and cars and people to take care of you. But I forgot what the world looks like when you're not safe in it." Maya didn't speak. She didn't have to. She smiled against his chest. A real one this time. And in that moment, something shifted. Darius wasn't a CEO. He wasn't an investor. He wasn't a man who won boardroom battles and wore his ambition like a suit of armor. He was a father, a protector, a man who had once turned his back on the cracks inside his home and would never look away again. If this story touched you, if it made you stop and think about the things we miss when we're too busy chasing more, then don't leave just yet. Tap that like button. Hit subscribe for more emotional, human stories that don't just entertain, but remind us what matters. And in the comments, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? Because stories like this connect us all. Until next time, stay kind, stay aware, and never forget to look a little closer. Someone may need you more than you think. The days that followed were quiet, not empty, not awkward, just peaceful. A new kind of silence settled into Darius's home, one that didn't feel like something was missing, one that didn't echo with guilt or cold tension, one where Maya could breathe, and so could he. The marble floors, still there. The high ceilings, still there. But for the first time since Maya's mother passed, the house didn't feel like a showroom. It felt like a home. There were soft things now, blankets left on couches, toys scattered in corners, and the sweet smell of maple syrup on weekend mornings. Darius didn't bark orders anymore. He wasn't unreachable, unshakable. He laughed. He messed up pancake batter. He got paint on his shirt helping Maya with art. And it didn't feel like he was giving up control. It felt like he was finally taking control of what mattered. One afternoon, Maya sat in the middle of the living room floor, coloring quietly. Darius was flipping through a book nearby, one of those parenting guides he used to scoff at. Suddenly she looked up. "Daddy, do other kids have nannies like Vanessa?" He paused. His heart skipped a beat. "Some do, but not all nannies are like her." She nodded thoughtfully. "Did you know?" That question hit him like a weight, heavy, honest. "No," he answered softly, closing the book, "but I should have." She was quiet for a moment. "Then, can I tell you something?" He leaned forward. "Always." What came next wasn't a full story. Not yet, but it was enough. Small fragments, memories, things she'd been too scared to say before. Vanessa yelling, grabbing, locking her in the laundry room when she acted out, making her apologize for ruining things when she cried. And always, the same threat whispered over and over. "If you don't behave, I'll send you away, just like your mom." Darius clenched his fists beneath the table, his knuckles white, but he kept his voice steady. "She lied to you, Maya, eh? You're not going anywhere. Ever." She nodded slowly, eyes glassy. "I was scared every day." "I know." He reached out, held her tiny hand in his. "But you're safe now, and I'm not going anywhere either." Later that evening, she asked him to read her a bedtime story. Not a cartoon one, not the fairy tales with princesses and towers. "Can you tell me a real story?" He smiled, so he told her one. A story about a brave little girl who went through something no child ever should, who spoke up even when it was hard, and who reminded her father what it means to be there. She fell asleep before the ending. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, things were still moving. Darius had hired a trauma-informed therapist, one with experience helping young children rebuild after emotional abuse. Sessions began slowly, play-based, gentle, no pressure. Sometimes Maya would talk, sometimes she wouldn't. But the therapist reassured Darius. Silence can also be a form of healing. So he didn't rush it. He just kept showing up. Day after day, lunches packed, bedtime cuddles, hand in hand on walks to the park, and always, always listening. What surprised Darius most was how much he needed the healing too. For years, he'd buried himself in work, not just to avoid pain, but to justify it. "I'm doing it for her," he'd tell himself every time he skipped a recital or delegated one more school pickup to staff. But now he saw what that ambition had cost him. And he was done letting Maya grow up in his shadow. One morning, he stood over her bed just watching her sleep. Her face had changed. The tension in her brow was gone. Her breath was easy. Her arms were no longer curled tight around her body like armor. She looked safe. He didn't cry, but he came close. As he stood there, something shifted in his chest. A new promise. One that didn't need to be said out loud. No more walls. No more blind trust. No more assuming that money could buy safety. From now on, he'd be the wall. He'd be the safety. Because that's what she deserved. Not just a house. Not just clothes. Not even a second chance. She deserved a first one. A real one. Later that week, Maya asked to plant something in the backyard. "A tree," she said. "A small one, but one that grows." Darius smiled. "You want to name it?" She nodded. Hope. He dug the hole himself. They planted it together. The day they planted the tree, it rained. Not a downpour, just a soft, steady drizzle. The kind of rain that feels like it's trying to wash things clean. Maya wore her little pink rain boots, ones she'd picked out herself, and a puffy yellow raincoat that made her look like a sunflower. Darius crouched in the mud beside her, digging with his bare hands, while she cradled the tiny sapling like it was made of glass. "This one's going to grow strong," she said. Darius looked up at her. "No doubt," he said, "just like you." They named the tree Hope, because that's what they both needed. Not just survival, not just justice, but something alive. Something that would root down, push upward, and reach for light, even after the darkest of storms. Months passed. The court case faded from headlines. Vanessa was sentenced, serving time. Other families reached out to Darius, some with stories of their own, some just to say thank you. But he wasn't interested in media anymore. He wasn't interested in legacy or reputation or how many articles had his name in bold. He was interested in Maya's drawings, how they changed from gray scribbles to bold colors, how the stick figures started smiling, how they stood together now, a little girl and a man with a tie who never left her side. And slowly, she bloomed. She sang again. She danced when no one was watching. She started talking about her mom with joy instead of confusion. And every Sunday, they visited Hope, the tree growing taller in the backyard, branches stretching toward the sky, like it had something to say. One evening, Maya sat curled up beside Darius on the couch, a blanket over their legs, cartoons playing low in the background. She looked up at him and asked, "Why didn't you see it before?" Darius didn't flinch. He was ready for the question. "Because I thought keeping you safe meant surrounding you with things. Money, staff, systems. But I was wrong." She blinked. "So what does keep me safe?" He pulled her close. "Me, my eyes, my heart, my time. That's what keeps you safe." That night, he didn't go back to the office. He didn't check emails. He didn't return missed calls. He just watched Maya sleep, her chest rising and falling gently, a tiny smile on her lips like even her dreams had changed. And for the first time in a very long time, he slept too. Not just in body, but in peace. Because healing isn't loud. It's quiet. It's slow. It's watching a little girl smile again, without fear. It's planting a tree named Hope. And finally remembering what love actually looks like. If this story moved you, take a second. Look around your own life, the walls you trust, the people you leave your heart with, the silence that you've grown used to. Have you really been watching? Sometimes the most dangerous things don't roar. They whisper. They blend in. But you can change that. You can be the one who pays attention, who shows up, who chooses to stay. Because someone out there, maybe in your own home, is waiting to feel safe again. If this story touched your heart, let it echo. Like this video if you believe in second chances. Subscribe for more emotional, true-to-life stories like this one. And drop a comment. What would you name your tree of hope? Until next time, stay kind, stay awake, and always listen to the quiet. That's where the truth lives.